And the first order of business is roll call. Kyle?
Ms. Payne? Ms. Chaput?
Here.
Mr. Dugan?
Here.
Mr. Dribbin?
Here.
Mr. Eppers? Spinney? Mr. Heil?
Here.
Ms. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Kirkton?
Here.
Mr. Klemp is here, and Mr. Yockley.
Oh, we have a quorum. Next is public comment. I don't see anybody online. Yeah, there's a- Do you have anything to say? Okay. All right, the next order of business is governance. And folks, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, no, we didn't. Skip that. We're going to approve the minutes first. Are there any additions and corrections? They've been distributed. And I had one that last meeting, Michael Yockley was not here.
I'll make that amendment.
Anything else? No? Okay, you have a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll move.
Matthew, second.
I'll second.
Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. And no public comment. And now we can start voting. And the first, oh, Matthew, I'll give you time
will
to
share here.
bring that up. So the first proposed addition to the charter is the preamble, and it's up there on the board, and the new language that has been proposed to add is in red. And we'll go ahead and have a motion.
Point of order.
Mhm.
Could we, Madam Chair, could you kind of explain the process that we're going to use today?
So we will bring up the proposed charter amendment, and we will make a motion and second to proceed. If there's any discussion, follow after that. And at that same time, if anyone has an amendment, they can be offered at that time. And we'll vote on the amendment up or down. And if that amendment passes, then we will have that as our proposal.
Point of order, if an amendment passes, then do you also then go back and vote for the amended amendment proposal? Or what is our process here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I don't know if this would count as an amendment, but I'm proposing a minor grammatical change, and that is it says here, diversity and inclusiveness and regional cooperation. And I think the "and" should be taken out after diversity and a comma put in. Diversity, inclusiveness, and regional cooperation. The two "ands" are redundant.
Well, I think that would be a technical amendment. So,
Technical, okay.
yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And I feel like I should know this, but I don't. Am I on the minutes tracking every person's vote for each vote? Or I'm the secretary, I should know this, but I don't.
No, is Neil gonna be here? Cause he was supposed to have something for Kyle to track this.
Madam Chair, he is on his way.
Okay,
I believe at the last meeting, it was decided that it would be tracked how the votes were.
right.
So.
Well, we can stand at ease until Neil gets here, or we can, if everybody's agreeable, we can.
And the other question, and forgive me, but I want to make sure Is priority one the strongest or priority three? Priority one's the
One
strongest.
strong,
Okay.
yeah,
And should the priority of each vote be reflected in the minutes as well?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Jesus,
I was gonna say, he needs a spreadsheet.
is not well prepared.
well, he's,
I've got
I
a
think
computer. It's
he,
fine.
well,
You're
I'll
up to
have
it.
a printout for you.
Oh, I will. Okay.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah. Um, we can move on to new business while we wait, if that's agreeable to everyone.
Mhm.
Okay. So the new business is, and this was something that we had talked about way back when, is about the city manager appointing a designee when they're not able to be here. And so the new language is in front of us. We each have a printout of it. And it's mainly the same qualifications in terms of office that was in 3.1. And it's in the event of a significant absence or disability, the city manager may appoint a designee whose duties shall be directed by the city manager. And then it goes on to say the city manager shall designate the selected designee in writing and filed with the city clerk. And yeah, it's on. Yeah. And then the language stricken after that is the assistant city manager or director of a department to perform the duties of the city manager in the event of an absence or disability. And then the last sentence stays, if the city manager should fail to do so, the council shall make such a designation. So this was for council consideration. It's not to be voted on tonight. Do we want to pass that on for council to consider that language?
I think so. There's a.
Pretty reasonable.
A little gap.
Yeah.
Makes sense. A little comment here.
Everyone had time to look at that?
Madam Chair, I'm supportive of the section 3.1. I think it should be handled in the same manner that we're handling the rest of the proposals in terms of the votes.
Yeah, what we're handling in the proposals are, like most of this is stuff that we have declared as a priority that we're voting on. I think this is categorized as something council should consider at some point, but we can vote whether to do that. Is it,
So the question is, are we prioritizing it to send to council?
for council to consider?
So point of clarification. So kind of thinking how this appears in our report, would this be a priority 1, 2, or 3?
I think what I'm thinking is the things that we have here are priorities. They may be high priorities or lesser priorities, but there are a lot of things that we talked about in this chart that we're not actually voting on. So I think that sending them as a council consideration. Or we can vote tonight to pass it on to the council and make it a priority 1, 2, or 3.
To further clarify, so we've already gone through all these other ones and said, okay, we want this to go to council. So
Yeah, all we need to do is the same, you're hoping we'll do the same thing and you're proposing it goes to council and this will get dumped in that same bucket with all the other stuff that we all said was not our highest priority.
Right.
So that's the question now. Do we all agree with it going to council versus people think it's more important than that? I don't know if that helps, but I'm just trying to talk it through.
But is there a preference among the?
Was this, as a result of the town hall?
No, it wasn't. It was actually came up afterwards. It was something that we talked about earlier, but kind of fell through the cracks.
Okay, is this something that is, covered in any ordinance? Are there guidelines on how this should be handled that are already in place?
So Madam Chair and Ms. Bame, no, I'm not sure I'm following fully your question. But as Madam Chair said, it was my understanding this was something that this body discussed earlier, and somehow it did fall through the cracks and wasn't discussed. So I think it was just for consideration along with your others, not necessarily to have more or less priority, but just to make sure it got back in front of you all for consideration. In terms of qualifications, certainly I have a required job description, and should another city manager be hired, there's the job description and that sort of thing. But this is the article that's within the charter. So I don't know if you want to add anything else in terms of.
Yeah, I think looking back at our charter review schedule under Article 3, it was a staff recommendation to define the minimum length of a city manager's absence to require an assignment of a designee. And this is a language that came up as a result of that question.
Madam Chair, I'm comfortable making this part of the, the priority one proposals. I mean,
Okay.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you want to make a motion, Joe?
I would move that we incorporate this as a proposal within the priority one tier, subject to approval of the board members here.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And then Cole. So, since we're gonna do that as a priority, Kyle, could you run down the list of us and ask for a yes or no vote?
I can.
I'll help you.
All right. Ms. Bame.
No.
Ms. Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes,
Mr. Dugan,
Yes,
Ms. Finney,
No.
Mr. Heil. No. Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Retire.
No. I'm doing myself and I'm saying no.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, 5 no's, 4 yeses.
Okay, the motion fails. We'll just stand at ease.
Good, to get old business while we.
Yeah, we could. We can move on to the old business discussion of the timeline for developing and finalizing the charter review report for city council. I think a while back I sent out a kind of a prototype of the possible report. And I've kind of been keeping up with that and adding things that we've looked at, articles and all our documents. And I mean, depending on the vote tonight, we can consider splitting it up into what our priorities are, 1 through 3. We can add sections where we vote on or write commentary on compensation, on the wards. I don't know, maybe Kyle, you would want to head up that commentary. How do you all want to approach that? Do you each want to take a section and write up how we got to this point?
That makes sense.
Madam Chair, do you anticipate that the report should include some sort of a documentation on our public engagement process that we've used throughout? And have you already started that? And to what extent can I assist?
Yeah, so yeah, I plugged in a lot of that
Okay.
stuff, but it's gonna need certainly more elaboration. It's just kind of an outline. And maybe it'd be helpful if I just send that out to everybody and look at it, and then we can lock out. Why don't I do that? Send it out to everybody and see how we can build upon it.
Okay.
I don't necessarily need it. I just wanted to know what I needed to record besides just the yes or no and the priority. So if we don't have it, then
That's really all we absolutely need. I emailed one to you, Kyle, but maybe you didn't get it.
maybe I didn't pay attention.
I have a thought about that. Do we have to do our 1, 2, and 3? If something doesn't pass, like, should we see which ones pass and then just revote on the 1, 2, 3 of the ones that we feel are important enough to put forward? Rather than you trying to, for each vote, yes 1, yes 2, no 3, or whatever. Or do we, if a no, do we want to give a no vote, the 1, 2, or 3 priority? Or do we only want to prioritize, rank the ones that we feel are priority to put forward?
Well, I think if they pass, we have to give them a priority,
I'm
but
saying we have to do that the first time.
yeah, would it be easier on you to do that?
Yes and no.
And then go
for us
back?
to prioritize the ones that passed.
Okay.
Okay. And then also yes, no, and also no vote is an option.
Can I ask about the 1, 2, 3? Have we clarified? If we have, I've missed that. Like, so is 1 is, it's really important to me.
Mhm.
2 is maybe, and is 3 the pass on to the council in that pile like we already talked about? Or, because I was not really clear what we were saying the numbers meant.
Yeah, I think it's still to pass on to council, but it's a low priority. They can consider it or not.
But does that put it in the category as all the stuff we already said we didn't make priority? And how does the 3 compare to the general bucket that exists now that's already not being considered in this pile?
Well, like, for example, your question is how does the 3 fit in?
Yeah, so there's already a category of, we've already said we're not prioritizing, but it's gonna go to council. So is that what 3 is, or is a 3 higher than that? I just wasn't really clear.
I
what
think
we were
it's
saying.
higher than that. For example, we talked about the word morals and character, and those are council consideration, but we're not voting on those.
Mhm.
So what we are voting on we're in the council priority column.
Sure, but then 1, 2, 3 are all council priorities that are higher than the other one. That's what
Right.
I wasn't clear. I was thinking it was, yes, I care, or no, I don't care. I didn't. The
Yeah.
third category was throwing me off.
Right.
Members, if everybody could please speak up and into your microphones.
Kyle, let me know when you feel ready.
I'm gonna go slow, but I'll do it
Okay.
at first, and then we're gonna.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
going back to the Article 3.1 item, should we now have a quick vote on passage? I mean, since we voted down the amendment, but
right.
doesn't the underlying motion still need to be voted on or not?
No, I think
It does not?
that's it.
Okay, okay.
Neil, you feel prepared to start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So- All right. So we're on the preamble. So is there a motion to move the preamble to a vote?
I move to move the preamble to a vote.
Is there a second?
I second.
Is that you, Paul? Okay. Is there any discussion? Let's see, Paul, I think you wanted to make a technical amendment.
Yeah, the and after diversity, I believe should be eliminating. And a comma put in there, diversity, inclusiveness, and regional cooperation.
Is diversity and inclusion not one concept, though?
Well, that's why the and should not be in there.
But it's kind of like a compound topic.
I mean, it's clunky to say diversity and inclusiveness and regional cooperation.
What if we move diversity and inclusiveness to a different part of the sentence? So you don't have those two hands in a row. I get what you're saying.
Just put regional cooperation before diversity and inclusiveness.
Sure.
So we're moving regional cooperation up.
Yep.
And then diversity and inclusiveness, okay.
I won't ask for a roll call on this. Is show of hands. Is that agreeable?
For that, just the change.
Yeah. 1, 2,
Yep.
3, 4, 5, 6,
Everybody.
7, 8, unanimous.
Only that one.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Okay, so we're back to the underlying proposed addition. Is there any further discussion? No? Kyle, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Bame?
Yeah.
Ms. Chaput?
Yes.
Mr. Driven?
Yes,
Mr. Dugan?
Yes,
Ms. Finney?
Yes,
Mr. Heil?
Yes,
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton?
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes. 9-0. Congratulations. Motion passes.
Okay, next one is section 2.1. It's a number and term proposal under consideration. Is the Charter Review Agency Board Subcommittee proposes to offer through the public engagement options of A, no change, staying with the existing at-large based elections in which council shall consist of 6 council members and a mayor. Is there a motion to move this forward?
I'll motion.
Nicole? Is there a second? Tammy? Any discussion?
can I just clarify, we're gonna vote on A, B, and C, or we're choosing one?
No, we're voting on
Okay.
each one. Any discussion on this one? No?
So just to be clear, yes vote would be keep it the same. No vote. Not keep it the same. Got it. Okay.
Mhm. You want
Ready?
to call the roll? Yeah.
Ms. Bame? Ms. Chaput,
No.
Mr. Driven,
No.
Mr. Dugan, sorry,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
No.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes,
Mr. Klemp, no. 5 yes, 4 no.
okay. Motion carries. Next one is a change to award system. Keeping 6 council members and wards would be established through a process outlined by charter amendment. Ward boundaries would be revised every 10 years according to population. Yes,
You can do whatever you want, but if you voted in a majority for no change, then I don't think you get to B and C.
oh,
No change would preclude voting for B and C,
Okay.
because theoretically, it would be the same each time.
But I thought that this would be options put before voters so that they would have the choice of A, B, or C.
I think what this is are recommendations to council. And so what you're saying here is that the majority of your board is recommending no change on this particular section.
So I think we need to clarify what we mean, because I thought it just meant what options are we recommending that the board put, or that the council puts before the public?
Oh, I don't think they're giving, I think they're gonna make one
They're gonna make
recommendation.
one
Yeah.
recommendation?
okay.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
that is kind of up to us to decide how they present it.
Yeah, I believe putting more than one of these on the ballot, I think I can say this confidently for the council because we've had a recent conversation, is just too confusing for voters to figure out which one, what do we mean?
Okay, so we need to choose A, B, or C and send that, okay.
Okay. 'cause
Now, I will say also just in the course of writing the report, it looks like you've chosen A. That doesn't mean that those of you who voted no can't put some comments in about B and C and why you think council might consider those options. Right? You've made a recommendation, but there can be some, I think you've been calling the minority viewpoints or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember what the technical.
Yeah, my thought was that we were voting to what you should consider, whether you want to keep at large or whether you want to look at something else. But if this is indeed, we're saying this is what we want to send to council, I would suggest that maybe someone who voted against it call for us to reconsider this motion.
I think now that we've clarified what we're intending, that I would move that we reconsider how we're voting on this.
Okay, is there a second to Tammy's motion?
Second.
Paul? Consider,
So we're avoiding the last vote.
right,
What would happen is that you do need a roll call back, by the way, but the other thing is then you would then go back and recall the question.
So we're now voting, there's a motion to void the vote. Is that the deal?
Mhm.
Okay. I'll second.
Wait, what did we just seconded?
Okay,
I'm
she said, was there already a second? I forgot. I
Yeah.
lost track.
yeah,
all seconded.
yeah.
Okay, oh,
Tammy
thank
and
you.
Paul,
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
okay, so we're on a motion to reconsider.
And we're voting whether we can reconsider now on the vote. Okay. So. Let me get your list of names again. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so on the vote for the motion to reconsider. Ms. Boehm,
No.
I think we'll have to
You
vote
would have to
yes.
reconsider.
You won.
Oh, I thought we were voting to.
No,
no,
not yet.
Sorry about that. Okay, the vote to reconsider.
Yeah.
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes,
Mr. Klemp, yes.
We will get pretty good at this after a while.
These are the longest minutes ever.
So before we vote again, are we gonna get a chance to clarify what we're doing then before we vote another time? Because if we go through this 1, 2, 3, we're not all gonna like, yeah.
So are we saying that each person should vote once, yes, one time for the option they prefer?
Yeah, that's a question.
Is that what we're saying? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now we have to go back to the underlying proposal and vote yes or no
For A.
for A. No
So we're
change.
considering the no change right now, correct?
Correct.
And we're only supposed to vote yes on one of these 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
You ready, Kyle?
Somebody's making a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to go with no change.
I second.
Madam Chair, could we have just brief discussion?
Mhm.
I am very intrigued by the hybrid option. I don't know if it means, going to as a straight up recommendation to the council. I'm intrigued by it. And I was under our prior system of voting, I was probably going to vote for both the no change and the hybrid and vote yes on both of those. Just to understand, for the record, my interest in the topic, that it be reviewed.
I guess I'd ask Neil, is there a prohibition against voting yes more than once under this formula?
So, it's a good question. So here's what I see if everybody just votes one time. You may have, just break it down, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could have 3 on no change, 3 on award system, and 3 on hybrid. What did you say, Councilman?
Something should change, but they have to pick what?
So I think it's a situation where you should vote on each of these. So I think if you're thinking about the award system, obviously you're gonna vote no change, right? But again, I think each of you should get to vote one time on each one. And I think that's gonna send a clearer message to whatever it is. So I guess the answer is Paul, I said, Desmond, you should be able to vote each time,
Oh, thank you,
whatever that's the yes or no.
thank you.
If we're offering comment, I'll just say on this one, where I've come from is, from what I've seen of elections in the past, I tend to vote for simple if I don't understand. So if I'm ever in an election and I'm like, why are we making this change? I will vote against a change at all times. And so that's kind of where I'm sticking here, because I don't have a problem with wards, but we've had such mixed input that I'm like, it seems like no change is the safer option in this case, since it's not clear.
And we haven't really done any due diligence to look at, I mean, other communities around us, a lot of them, the majority are using this, but we've not talked to any of them about advantages or disadvantages that they have found.
Well, that's certainly something the council could do too. They're taking this as a recommendation, or what 9 people think. So I'm sure they would give it quite a bit of weight before they put something on the ballot.
I'm also very intrigued by the hybrid option and the fact is the side of the state, we don't have anyone that's currently doing that, but in talking with people at the town hall, and their questions and concerns, I find it very intriguing.
But it was the lowest in our survey. So it's 20 points below making no change and 10 points below award system. So that was the bottom in terms of when we asked for feedback from the broader community. So.
Yeah, I feel, it was a pretty limited number of responses. I feel like we're gonna end up with no majority here anyway, so the council's gonna get this and say, all right, they don't have a strong, everybody has their own strong opinion. We've got some thinking to do. So I don't want to say it doesn't really matter, but in a way, we're going towards a plurality, so in my opinion, we can vote.
Okay, so we need to vote on, did we already do? A?
We have a
Already did a
motion.
motion to reconsider some.
Okay,
vote
so
is-
now we're ready to,
Call the
more
question.
Ms. Bame,
No.
Ms. Chaput,
No.
Mr. Driven,
No.
Mr. Dugan,
No.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
No,
and Mr. Klemp, no. 3 yes, 6 no. Do I need to do this like baseball and do the higher number first? For every sport ever? I don't.
no.
Yes, it's first.
Motion fails.
Okay. So we'll move on to B, change to award system, a peer award system.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Nicole and Paul. Is there any discussion?
I suppose my only thought on moving to all wards is that then it becomes such a small geographic area that finding, like new candidates, things like that is going to be more of a challenge than if we go to a hybrid where it's a larger area to try and get more involved.
I understand that mindset, but one of the things that I think is versatile about what we're proposing is we're not mandating a specific number of wards, so it could be 3, it could be 6, depending if it's 1 per or 2 per. So just in thinking of the hybrid versus the wards, if they decided to do 3, we wouldn't have that concern as much, but it would be up
That's
to.
a really good point. It's saying like 2 from each
Mhm.
ward and it's still 3 wards.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Now you really.
maybe Jennifer's onto something.
Anything else? Okay, Kyle,
Ms. Bame,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
No.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
No.
Ms. Finney,
No.
Mr. Heil,
No.
Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton,
no,
Mr. Klemp, yes. Fails 6-3. Right? Yes.
okay,
Thank you. Got back up.
thank you, Kyle. All right,
So I have a question about this process,
It's evenly
right? Because I still like the hybrid. Are we now not allowed to vote yes? for the
Yeah,
hybrid?
you can
Yeah, you
vote
can.
yes for,
You can,
Okay,
yes, you
Alright.
can.
just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
yeah.
It's already gonna be
Keep
3
your
to
cards
3
close
to
to your
at
chest.
least
The-
3.
The city attorney just warned us that we might all deadlock on this question. Yeah, okay.
Are you having fun? I am.
okay. Is there a motion to change to a hybrid system?
So moved.
I'll
Nicole,
second.
Nicole and Joe. Any discussion?
Well, my only discussion is, I definitely see the value of it, but in the spirit of keeping things simple, I'm afraid it'd be too hard to explain to people. When I bring it up, people are real confused about it and they're suspicious. I think in a administrative sense, it makes a lot of sense, but in political sense, it might be tough to sell.
Madam Chair, I agree with Mr. Driven that there could be some challenges in communicating what we're attempting here. And I do think that there are some options here with the hybrid approach that could be explored, and we don't really address that in this proposal. It could be 3 and 3, 3 council people that are at large and 3 from different wards. It could be 2 and 4. Everyone could be elected on a citywide basis. You just have to have 3 or 4 from a specific geographic area. I believe that could be done. I think I've read about other cities that have done that approach. So that's what's intrigued me about the hybrid approach, is that it allows our city to take the best of the at-large approach that we've been using and make use of that in a slightly different way of providing some degree of geographic I don't know, specificity to the council's operations.
Can I say I agree with both of those sets of comments? I think it's intriguing, but far too complicated. And I think just what you said about there's so many ways to do it is actually a very good reason to say no, because we aren't voting for a proposal. We're voting for, let's go explore a whole new thing, and everybody's going to have different opinions based on that. So I think if it's already hard to pass the concept, once one choice gets picked, it's going to be even harder.
Anybody else? Okay, Kyle?
Ms. Bame,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Dribbin,
No.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
No.
Mr. Heil,
No.
Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes. 5 yes, 4 no. Motion passes. Approved.
Mhm.
Matter.
Okay, now we're on to section 2.4, compensation for council members and mayor. And option A is under consideration. That was set the council members pay at $400 per month, not to exceed $4,800 per year. And the mayor, $625 per month, not to exceed $7,500 per year. Is there a motion to move this forward?
Can I ask a question? Technically, did this get added in though, this proposed amendment?
No, it's gonna be offered in a minute.
Oh, so we're not voting on that amendment when we're voting?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to move this forward?
So move.
I'll second.
So, and Matthew. Okay, is there any discussion?
I don't understand the proposed amendment. We're not voting on that?
We will.
We
be.
will, but
We will
Joe
be.
has to raise it first.
Yes.
So what you have in front of you is just what was presented to the public. That was what was talked about the last week. That would be on the ballot. There were suggestions that there would be amendments to the ballot. The amendments, then before you would vote, there would be an amendment made, and then the amendment will be voted on first, then the option A, option B. That's amendment.
Madam Chair, do you want me to give an explanation of my amendment before I actually introduce it, just to kind of help set the stage, and then I can introduce, or we can go right into it, I
Well,
suppose?
yeah, you can offer your amendment and then describe
Okay,
it.
okay. I'd like to offer the amendment to, as it's stated there, to keep the current rate in effect until after the regular municipal election in 2026.
Is there any discussion?
So I'm confused because we already had the next bullet really says something similar, but not the same. So you want to take out that statement and replace it? I mean, because we'd all agreed on the
Yeah.
previous.
The proposal only would strike the section above that as shown there. Because in effect, what we are currently doing under the underlying proposal would be a staggered implementation. So what I'm suggesting is that we have implementation happen all at the same time, April 2026, after the election then. And then that the new rates would go into effect if voters approve. I mean, if the council puts this forward, if voters approve.
So I think it still conflicts with the next bullet, last sentence as well. So it's, I find it confusing. And I also think our committee that put this together liked the language we had before. So I would say no, but it is, if we want it, I feel like we have to change the other bullet too. It doesn't seem like they're in agreement to me.
Which one are you speaking
So
of?
the bullet right
Jennifer?
after that, the last sentence says it will not take effect until the new term begins for each office, which is different than it's going to take effective for everyone in office at that point. They're not the same.
If I may, Madam Chair, I think the bullet there is referring to compensation changes being made by the city council on its own, you know, separate from what we are mandating here in this charter amendment that we, the subcommittee, have proposed.
I see your point, but I still think it doesn't make, they aren't doing the same thing and it's confusing. Like why would we not want them to do the same thing we're saying we're gonna do?
I think what the bullet that you're referencing, Jennifer, would be, take effect after 2026. If Joe's amendment were passed. Is that right, Neil?
That's not.
Well, it would have to be for future ones, right? Because this is every 4 years. So it has to be after some date or something, not after 2026.
Well, it'd be every 4 years after the effective date of this charter amendment. So if we adopt Joe's amendment, 2026 would be the starting point.
That seems so far away.
Yeah.
And also then like the rates, you know, what the world looks like in 3 years. $400 a month and $625 could not seem appropriate, and we've already put it in here.
Appreciate the comment, and I agree. Again, I was looking at just the dilemma that we would be in having a staggered implementation. You know, 3 council members would get assuming that it goes to the voters and the voters approve it. 3 of them would get the increase and then would have to wait. And the other 3 plus the mayor would be at the next term after that, which would be 2026. So all I'm doing is saying that the 3 council seats that are up in 24 would wait until 2026.
And I'd rather have them get the pay raise. I'd like to, I mean, I think it's good to delay like we have planned so that you can't vote for your own pay increase, but I think we need to implement it as soon as possible.
I just make an observation. I think that this might fall into the category of things that we can just sort of generally approve now. And people who have comments about any comments about the timing can go in the comments that we're all free to make. I think the councilors will need to decide for themselves what they feel comfortable with, right? Like they might say, okay, the commission, the CRAB thinks there should be a significant increase in comp. We as a group need to figure out, how this looks to the public, whether we voted in for ourselves sooner or later, if they want to delay it. But to me, I would feel, we're sort of getting hung up on some of the nitty gritty. That's really for them to decide. We're saying we think you all should get a raise. There's different ways to look at the timing, but to me, the main thing is we think you should increase the comp.
I agree
Right,
with
but
you.
the
So
amendment puts that
Yeah.
date in there. So that's what we're voting on.
Right, it is, but it's still, I mean, I don't mean to say it's not important, but it's still just a recommendation to them. They're gonna do whatever they want to do.
So let's vote.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I just have a quick question. I roll call vote for the amendment also. Okay, thank you.
So that has to actually be first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to vote on the amendment, Joe's amendment? Okay, Kyle,
Yes. All right, Ms. Bain,
No.
Ms. Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
No,
Mr. Dugan,
Yes,
Ms. Finney,
no,
Mr. Heil,
No,
Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton,
yes,
Mr. Klemp, no. Three yes, 6 no.
okay, the motion fails. So we're back to the underlying proposal. Is there any further discussion on that?
Madam Chair, for just point for the record, these are recommendations that we are giving to the council. The council will, am I correct that the council will ultimately decide what level would be appropriate? They can take our recommendation or you know, if they want to move forward with some sort of a compensation increase, they could choose some other level. Is
Right.
that correct?
They could. Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
My comment would just be the repeat of what I've said in previous meetings. This is the thing I care on. This is the hill I want to die on. And I think to vote for the second option is a mistake because it undoes everything we have argued that this has got to be a priority.
So we just, have I gotten lost in the back and forth? Did we just turn down the amendment, but we're still going to vote on overall A versus B? Okay,
And we don't need a motion because it's already there.
got it. That's what I thought. Okay, I agree with you, Jennifer.
Shall we vote?
Yes, we shall.
Miss Bame,
Yeah.
Miss Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Dribbin,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes,
Miss Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Miss Johnson,
Yes.
Miss Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes. Wow, look at that.
Woohoo.
Mm.
Approved.
Okay.
So do we not need to do B since it was unanimous?
I think we can dispense with B or vote on it.
It would be in the same category as what we did prior. Yes, take a vote.
Okay. We'll go on to option 2. That's to authorize council to review and set compensation by ordinance. And also included the, I believe, the establishment of a citizens commission too. Is there any discussion on this?
We need a motion.
Oh, motion. Do we need a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, Nicole, is there a second?
Second.
Mhm. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none. Kyle?
Miss Bame,
No.
Miss Chapu,
Nope.
Mr. Dribbin,
No.
Mr. Dugan,
no,
Miss Finney,
No.
Mr. Heil,
No.
Miss Johnson,
No.
Miss Kirkton,
No.
Mr. Klemp, no.
That's a consistent vote.
First time.
We're on a roll.
Then our last one with options.
I think so. No. Okay, we're on Article 2, the council proposed change of legislative proceedings, and it changes the language to publish information in contemporary means and available for the public. Takes out a lot of things like mimeographs and outdated means of communication. Is there a motion to move this forward?
I will move that.
Matthew,
I second.
Jennifer, any discussion?
We had a lot of feedback at the town hall about why this isn't longer than 24 hours.
Oh, yeah, I think this is a different one, Tammy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it was
it's
this one.
coming up later, the 24 hours.
No, it's not.
This is it.
Oh, right, you're right. Never mind, go ahead.
Is this set by state law?
Well, state statute says you have to post, you can give at least 24 hours, so it says.
Yeah.
There were several people making comments and a lot of feedback on having that be longer, few days up to 7 days. Is that possible?
Dr. Peoples, while this may be the policy, what does the practice tend to be?
Thank you. So the practice is to post as early as possible, but there are events that require, last minute posting. It might be funding, it might be equipment coming in. There's all kinds of reasons where you would post, right before the meeting, 24 hours, but we try to do it in advance.
I mean, there's nothing that prohibits us from saying 7 days, but it's not practical in all matters.
It's not.
Yeah.
In terms, and I answered that question, pardon me, Madam Chair, in terms of council meetings, and there's all kinds of reasons for special meetings to be called as well. But this would also apply to our boards and commissions, and that's how they do their work around member schedules. So it'd be very difficult then as well.
Eric, have a comment?
Oh, Eric, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I would just caution us and really in emergency management situations when we need the immediate need for funding, if appropriations are necessary. The 24-hour rule is really that's what we really want to use that for and such. And so that's in my past experience, and obviously the floods and such, if we have those kind of experiences, the 24-hour period is really the appropriate amount of time.
All right.
Can I say, I think there were several things like this that came up last week. And I don't think we necessarily need to change what we're writing here, but maybe maybe this is a commentary we want to provide for the council, like, oh, you might want to be prepared to address this because we weren't looking at it, but it's going to come up.
Right. And actually, a lot of those questions that were raised, I'm composing answers to, but I'm not prepared to publish them yet until Marie and Neil look at my answers. But yeah, they're legitimate questions.
If we had a note up there about, well, what about the floods? We need 24-hour, I think we could have answered it. We just didn't even consider it. So that's why it was an issue.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Kyle, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Miss Bame,
Yes.
Miss Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Miss Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Miss Johnson,
Yes.
Miss Kirkton,
Yes.
and Mr. Klemp is a yes, which is unanimous, 9-0. Pass.
Okay, next is Article 4, Administrative Service, and the proposed change is to strike existing sections 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3 and replace it with the new language enumerating the departments and boards and commissions. Is there a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Nicole,
Second.
Paul? Any discussion? Seeing none? Kyle, you ready?
Miss Bame,
Yes.
Miss Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Miss Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Miss Johnson,
No.
Miss Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes. Motion passes 8-1.
If I may, then,
Yeah.
that's where I thought we were.
Let's keep moving.
We're full of surprises.
That's like a fourth of a real one. You're fine.
Okay, Article 5, Department of Finance, proposed change is essentially a name change from Department of Finance to Department of Financial Management. Is there a motion to move that forward?
Move.
Paul
I'll second.
and Matthew, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, Kyle?
Miss Bame,
No.
Miss Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
No.
Miss Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Miss Johnson,
No.
Miss Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes. We can count faster. Thank you. It passes, y'all. It's the 6 and the 3 that gets me.
Okay, 5.3 still in finance, approval of excess expenditures. And this was to add the word knowingly to anyone who shall knowingly audit and approve for payment any excess expenditure. And the amount provided for in the budget, it says that they would automatically forfeit their office and be guilty of a municipal infraction and face a fine. The word knowingly gives a little leeway to for innocent mistakes. Essentially. Is there a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Can we have a little discussion about this?
After we move it.
Hmm?
After we move it.
Okay.
Second,
Jennifer? Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, why is this necessary?
Well, I brought,
Obviously, if somebody misuses money, they're gonna face consequences.
right, but the addition of it, the original language was shall audit. They were automatically lose their job and face a guilty sentence. So this just, if somebody makes a really
Softens it a little bit.
innocent mistake, I mean,
Okay,
and there was some talk about in the open house, does this preclude discipline? So it does not. I just think it's a little added protection for someone who makes a mistake and they don't
mhm.
automatically get kicked out.
Okay, that clarifies it for me. Thank you.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
yesterday I did a little spot checking of some other city charters, and I unfortunately I did not write it down, but I did find a couple, 3 other instances of the word knowingly being put into this context in this sentence. May not have been exactly in the same place that it is put here, but the word knowingly has been used by other municipalities, I found.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Kyle, you ready?
Yes, Ms. Bame,
Yeah.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes,
Mr. Dugan,
Yes,
Ms. Finney,
yes,
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, no. Passes 7-2.
Okay, next we're on to audits, section 5.6. And this one would change the report date due from the 45th day after the close of the fiscal year to the last day of the 6th month after the close of the fiscal year. Is there a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Nicole?
second,
Is it Jennifer?
yes.
Okay. Any discussion?
Am I remembering correctly that it was just unrealistic to get that done within 45 days?
Right, and I think the issue was, Dr. Peoples, that you don't even have the data at 45 days to complete this report.
That's correct. Finances aren't closed. We haven't received them from other county, state. And it's also, even if we were to have it, which we don't within 30 days, it's very hard to find auditors that are going to come in with that time, within that time frame.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Madam Chair, and for the city manager, just for the record here, I mean, going out 6 months, I mean, it will, in practicality, will it be a sooner cycle, or what's your expectation?
Thank you. And I think I'd ask Mr. Peterson to chime in, but my expectation is that it typically takes almost all of that 6 months.
Mhm.
So of course we would publish it and get it done as quickly as possible, but we're really at the mercy of other jurisdictions to turn over finances. And I'm going to turn to Mr. Klemp here. Put you on the line. Sometimes. Sometimes the county, it's hard to get reconciliation from. So I think 6 months is actually very realistic.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, Kyle?
Ms. Bame,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
yes,
Mr. Dugan,
Yes,
Ms. Finney,
Yes,
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes, unanimous, 9-0 passes.
Okay. Now we're on to section 5.11 is the public record. And this is about the budget and the budget message And it shall be republished in contemporary means of information sharing for distribution to interested persons. And this just updates the method of communicating the budget. Is there a motion to move it forward?
So move.
Paul,
I'll second.
Joe, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, Kyle?
Ms. Bain.
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Clemp is yes. That is 9-0, y'all.
Okay, next is specific purposes, and that changes the language from insane asylums and poorhouses to mental health facilities. Is there a motion to move it forward?
I
So
motion.
move.
Joe,
Second.
Jennifer, thank you. Is there any discussion? Kyle?
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Clemp, yes. Motion passes 9-0.
Okay, now we're on to Office of Human Resources, Article 7. This is technically a name change from personnel to human resources. Is there a motion to move it forward?
I'll move.
Matthew? I'll second it. There, any discussion?
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Clemp, yes. 9-0 passes.
Okay. On to 7.5 powers and utilities of the board.
There is a spelling error. No, that's right, sorry. When I got email.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so this is just more of the name change, and then the current charter says that the human or personnel board, human resources board can make investigations, and we want to change that to review since they do not do investigations. Is there a motion to move it forward?
So moved.
Nicole? I'll second it. Any discussion?
Can we go over that again as far as they don't do investigations?
Yeah, I think Dr. Peoples, didn't you want to handle that? I think you said the other law enforcement agencies handle that now.
Sure. So law enforcement agencies, or if it's a, certainly not a legal issue, or if it's an internal personnel type issue, it would be done through supervisor, human resources. The personnel board themselves do not do that. They may be called in for a hearing to weigh what's
Okay.
brought to them, but they're not doing the actual investigating.
Got it.
In order to preserve the integrity of their decision making, you don't want. Can't just investigate, decide. So, you want to make sure.
Yeah, I was misunderstanding why we were taking that word out. But I understand now. Thank you for that explanation.
Any further discussion? Okay,
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
yes.
Mr. Clemp, yes. 9-0 passes.
Okay, now we're on to 7.6 classification of employees. And this is a change to number 1, that all personnel that are exempt from overtime provisions under the Fair Labor Standards, rather than spelling out city manager, department heads. Is there a motion to move that forward?
So moved. A second.
Paul and Nicole.
Can I just make the comment? This is like the 24 hours. This is one where people got confused. So I just would want to note, I don't write it on myself, but that we should tell council that we may want to clarify the words because service was upsetting. Classified service was like confusing people. I don't think we have to change anything.
Dr. Peoples. This, or Neil. Okay.
The simple answer is I think it confuses everybody. It's some very outdated language in terms of that. Classification historically has not been consistent, and they are a very straightforward classification that we must follow in terms of Fair Labor Standards Act. So this would help bring us in alignment with that.
Well, I guess I wasn't asking for an answer here. I'm saying that when it goes forward for a vote, I think there needs to be some explanation because that's where people got worked up about this one. It wasn't about what we were asking, but they were like, what's classified? What's service?
Jennifer, what were they worked up? Because all this is getting in compliance with the Fair Labor Standards Act.
They just didn't understand the words. Like they just wanted clarification of what those terms mean because they're not terms we use. So I just think it wouldn't hurt to, if I were going to do another public engagement, I might have a little explanation of the words on the side. That was all.
So classified service and unclassified is actually defined by the charter, but not particularly well defined. So again, like you said, we're bringing ourselves into a consistent position with the FLSA, and we're using that as the standard. But we are still creating 2 classes of people. So, you know, again, the words are there, the explanation is there, but it requires you kind of dig into it. So it's kind of the nature of the beast. I don't know any way to really fix that. But I think this does help tremendously.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I would just suggest, as I think Jennifer was saying, is maybe our report should try to address this in some way, at least provide some guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to change anything.
Yeah, no, and as part of the open house questions, this is one I'm trying to answer and have some information for everybody. Anything else? Okay, Kyle.
Ms. Boehm,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes. Motion passes 8-1. Ms. Johnson.
Okay, next is merit system rules. And a lot of name change from personnel to human resources. And then we added some classifications against discrimination and questions on any test for employment. And we added several: race, creed, national origin, gender identity, marital status, sexual orientation, age, income, physical appearance, and disability. And it's also has a gender correction from he to they. Their motion to move it forward?
Also move.
I'll second.
Okay, Matthew.
I have a grammar question. I feel like we lost it too, but maybe not. No question in any test shall relate political or religious opinion. Was there a 2 in there? Yeah.
There should be.
You can amend that by interlineation. Someone moves to amend it by interlineation, add the word to.
Okay.
I move to amend it by interlineation.
Second.
Did someone spell that?
Interlineation.
Thank you.
ITER.
Got it. And who did that? Nicole?
Nicole.
Thank you.
And I second.
I still didn't spell it right. Oh, that is a word. Okay. something like that.
Any discussion? Hey, Kyle?
Ms. Bain,
So are we voting on the interlineation or the entire?
Somebody moves to do it and it's seconded. It's seconded.
Oh, so we're just going straight to the vote.
You're going straight to the.
Okay, okay,
and
yes.
you seconded. Okay. So voting on the proposed change with the interlineation,
Right.
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
thank you. Ms. Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Dribbin,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Clemp, yes. Unanimous 9-0 pass.
Okay, next is 7.12, the prohibitions. And it's more of the adding classifications against discrimination, human resources, name change, and at the end, clarification that employees and city staff are not prohibited from active participation in political campaigns at any level of government outside of any other level of government outside city races such as city council. Is there a motion to move it forward?
So moved.
Nicole? Is there a second?
Second.
Paul? Any discussion?
I just realized this applied to the previous one too, but another word that seemed to throw people off was service. I don't have a problem with it. But is that military service? Is that service in it's not clear what that is.
Yeah, I had the same question because it was one of the comments and I asked Neil. Neil, you thought it relying to politics and religion?
Yes, so again, it's a little bit vague as it was written originally, but it's not military service. It's related to servicing of the things that precede. So it's connected with the disjunctive. Hold on, I'm looking for the spot, so I have to make sure.
We might just need to, again, explain it to the public.
So you probably shouldn't have a comma, by the way, after affiliations. It should say affiliations or service. So disability affiliations or service. So in that situation, what they're looking for is service towards political or religious activity. That's what we're talking about.
So I,
We've added these additional words, so we apply that to those things as well.
Again, I don't have a problem with it. I just think the public is confused and may need clarification in future education pursuits.
so may I make a motion for interlineation? Take out that comma.
I'll second.
Second,
I'm gonna mess it up by saying that same commas in the previous one we just voted on, just so we all know that. I didn't
Madam-
catch it because the service wasn't in red on that one.
Madam Chair, there's a spelling error in the black text. It's City of Webster Grovers.
oh.
It's kind of catchy.
Yeah, Webster Grover.
That's who we are.
Could be somebody who was a Muppet fan.
Can we do a technical correction for that?
What's
Yeah.
service?
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay.
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
Ms. Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Dribbin,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes,
Mr. Clemp, yes, motion passes 9-0.
Do we want to fix the comma in the previous one? I don't really care, but I just want to say it clearly. It's the same comma.
I'll make a change if you want.
I don't want to make it a big deal. Oh, no, I just think they should be the same. That's all I wanted to say.
yeah, I think, which one was that in?
7.7.
It's the same affiliations or service, the same phrase.
Where's it otherwise?
It's in 7.7,
The last
Neil, the
line.
Oh,
last sentence.
so you can take that up. And fix it.
No, we already
We-
did that one.
We did it. Okay. Next is proposed change to Article 10, Section 10.1, Boards and Commissions. And this is replacing that language and putting it into 4.1 with the administrative departments and boards and commissions.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Matthew and Joe. Is there any discussion?
I guess my only question is, could this theoretically be that we vote for and then still keep 10? And does that mess things up? But either way, I think we have to vote, but they feel like they should be one vote. So I'm a little confused.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
Sorry, I think we do have to go ahead and vote on this based on everything we've done so far, but I find it a little confusing because it seems like we already voted on the 4 change. So it feels like this ought to be part of that, but I'm guessing they have to be separate, but I think that's going to confuse people. Because it's confused me.
The only thing I'm saying is this is how it's presented. So again, if you all want to change that and create a second amendment, which would be to vote no change, you can certainly do that. But I think we would then have to do that on every one.
I didn't mean that. I meant, is it going to be confusing? We voted yes on the 4 change and we're saying the 4 change eliminated this, but now we have to vote to eliminate this, even though we already voted for the other piece. And again, I'm less concerned about it for us, but I just kind of bringing it up as it goes to the public.
Yeah, I guess, Madam Chair, I guess, as I understand it, I mean, on Article 4, we struck existing sections 4.1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
So maybe if we had packaged the Article 10 as part of that, we would have it taken care of in one fell swoop. But because we kept them separate, we got to come back and delete this out. It's just a consistency item.
But we could put it together with the others in our recommendations.
I guess so.
Yeah, because it's like Joe said, we voted on 4.1, 2, and 3, and now we're voting on section 10.
I like what Matthew said. We go ahead and we vote on this, but then maybe the recommendation, we can roll it together.
Yeah, what kind of is rolled together in 4.1?
But so that we're not asking voters to vote on 2 separate things.
No, correct.
But I don't know, we met, again, council would have to give us some advice here as to whether we need to have the voters delete this article. Or maybe as part of the whole Article 4 section, it could be all part of one.
You could, but I think what you're doing now is coming back to a certain part of this and take this out. And I think that has to be a distinct question.
Right.
So I think this is not inconsistent with what you're doing in the place. Ultimately, you're tailoring it so that the whole thing works.
It seems to me the whole discussion about clarity to the public, the council is going to deal with that anyway. We're just making a recommendation to the council. How it's then packaged, presented to the public is a function of the council.
Yeah, but I think we're making comments and recommendations to them on that.
Yeah, but there's certain common terminology that's used all the time.
I don't disagree with what you're
Can't be clear to everybody all the time.
I agree, but I don't think this was about terminology. It just, again, it felt like we were re-voting on something earlier, and it's fine. I think we have to vote on it, but I just think it might be better if we can roll it in later.
Anything else? Kyle?
Ms. Payne.
Yeah.
Ms. Chapu.
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Clemp, yes. Motion passes 8-1.
Okay, we'll move on to section 10.2 is Parks and Recreation, and that is enumerating it in the new article for section 4.1, Administrative Departments, Boards and Commissions. Their motion to move that forward,
I so move.
Joe? Nicole? Any discussion?
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Clemp, yes. Motion passes 8-1.
And the next section is 10.3, that's the Police and Fire Retirement Board, and it no longer exists, and we are striking that from the charter. Is there a motion to move that forward?
So moved.
Nicole,
Second.
Tammy? Any discussion?
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Clemp, yes. Motion passes 9-0.
Okay, move on to Article 11 is Planning and Zoning, name change to Planning and Development. And then there's also additional language, adding land use development, environmental planning, and part about inclusive and comprehensive plan for zoning and land use, and cooperating with other jurisdictions and organizations in the region. Their motion to move that forward?
So moved.
Second.
Nicole. Jennifer? Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I ask it for the city manager and the mayor to, if they have any comments about this language? I mean, this is based on, I believe, model city charter language. Are there any aspects of this that are of any concern, or are we comfortable with this?
Thank you. I don't have any concerns with it. It's much more consistent with what we're doing and what we're seeing across the region and nation, which is why it was reflected in the model city charter. So I don't have any concerns.
Thank you.
I heard positive feedback at the open house on this one.
I don't know that it's relevant because it's only under the proposed change and not the actual Article 11 wording, but planning and zoning is spelled wrong. As well as planning and development has a K in it.
Development.
Oh, you have an
Again, I don't
old
know.
version, I think.
Oh, do I have an old one?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not following along with the one that was passed out today. Mine is marked up. Sorry.
So much more fun.
You're right.
Any further discussion?
Ms. Bain,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Clemp, yes. Wow, 9-0, yes.
Okay, Article 13, nominations and elections, and this 13.4 is preparation of ballots, and it brings the language into compliance with the county election board and the state statutes. And although the city is complying with the state statutes and the board, our charter does not. So it's a correction for that.
This will make the safest county election. But the end, Katie knocks out. We try hard to take that.
Good idea. Is there a motion to move this forward?
So moved.
Yeah, okay, Melissa? Is there a second?
Second,
Go ahead.
Paul? Okay. Any discussion?
Ms. Bame,
Yes.
Ms. Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
yes.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes.
and Mr. Clemp. Yes, motion passes 9-0. Uh-oh.
Article 14, charter changes under consideration, and this has to do with petition signatures. And the first option is to change the charter to set the signatures at 4% of registered voters for an initiative and 10% for recall.
Yep.
We need to vote
Ma-
on the amendment first.
Well, no, we haven't gotten there yet.
Madam Chair, point of parliamentary procedure, just so, can we outline how we're going to tackle this section, just as a reminder? Are we going to vote for each and then we can vote 3 times, or as we did with the other?
That would be my recommendation, Madam Chair, because I should stay consistent.
Okay.
And you could vote yes more than once if you so choose.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Each one would be an independent vote.
Yeah.
But in this, I would also agree that you take up the proposed amendment, which is as to section B, right, Mr. House? Sorry.
Yep.
And so I would tell you to take up, recommend that you take up A first, and then when you get to B, it would be a proposed amendment that you would take up next.
The amendment would work for any of the proposals.
Someone just needs to make it.
Uh,
So
Madam Chair, I guess Mr. Heil's amendment is really a substitute, or it's an additional option, basically, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's been placed here as changing B, but it's actually a 4th option.
That makes it a little bit simpler than to put it on to take it as a vote as a 4th option. And then take that up last as the addition to the proposed ballot.
Does that mean would still be voting on B as is? That would be the 4th. Okay.
Yeah.
So A, original B, amended B, and C.
I
Just making sure.
would defer to Mr. Heil, his preference as to where this is placed in the order of voting, if it matters.
No, we can, I mean, it's the same, I mean, it's just another option from the other 3 that we've already got.
So should we make this a D? Letter
Yes,
D?
please make it a D.
Yeah, that would be
That
easier.
would be clear.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to move this forward?
So move.
Nicole?
Second.
Amy? Is there any discussion?
And this is referring to A.
A.
Okay.
Article A.
I have a favor to ask.
Yep.
Do you have available that chart, since you're displaying on the screen, right?
I can.
That chart that shows the numbers and what that would look like.
Well, no, this
Oh.
shows,
I will find it.
well, let's see whether it's down.
It's
at
on the website.
Yeah, no, this doesn't have.
Wait, Kyle, it's here.
On the website.
If you go on our charter review page, it's on there.
Yeah.
Not the survey, but the
But, you know,
He's talking about this
That-
chart,
that-
this chart, which I didn't make a full copy of it. so-
yeah,
I know, but it's on the charter review
Yeah.
website if he just wants to share from there. As long as they're still posted, I guess.
Where are we? I guess so.
I doubt it.
That's the police board? Uh-huh. No, that's not the right one.
If no one else cares to see it, I have it for myself, but does anyone else care to see it?
I'm good.
Okay, well, I have it for myself then. Move on.
Okay, are we ready to vote on A?
Miss Bame,
Yes.
Miss Chaput,
No.
Mr. Dribbin,
No.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Miss Finney,
No.
Mr. Heil,
No,
Miss Johnson,
No.
Miss Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes. Fails. Motion fails.
What's the
5-4.
count? 5-4?
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to option B.
Did I count wrong?
4,
4 yes, 5 no.
yeah. 4 yes, 5 no.
Correct.
Right.
Fails.
Right. Option B is to change the petition signature threshold to 5% of registered voters for initiative and referendum and 12% for a recall. Is there a motion to move this forward?
I move.
Paul,
I will second.
Joe? Any discussion?
Miss Bame,
No.
Miss Chaput,
No.
Mr. Dribbin,
No.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Miss Finney,
No.
Mr. Heil,
no,
Miss Johnson,
No.
Miss Kirkton,
No.
Mr. Klemp, no. Motion fails 1-8, 8-1, sorry.
I don't have to make a motion for each subsection, do I?
We have so far. Should we
We have
just
none.
keep going?
Yeah, I have, but do I?
Yeah, it's time. One is separate.
Okay, okay. We'll move on to subsection C.
I motion for C.
a second.
Any discussion?
Is the word simply needed there? I mean, can't we just say change? Shouldn't we just say change?
Kind of leading.
Does it matter?
No.
Okay.
Because the ballot would just have the
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Okay, never mind.
I agree. It's unnecessary.
value statement.
Yeah.
We ready?
Yes.
Miss Bame,
Yes.
Miss Chaput,
No.
Mr. Dribbin,
No.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes.
Miss Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes,
Miss Johnson,
No.
Miss Kirkton,
No.
Mr. Klemp, yes. That passes 5-4.
Okay, we'll move on to D, and that's Matthew's amendment. You want to explain your amendment?
so, 12 of the
Oh, wait,
13
I better make a motion.
Sorry.
I have a motion to bring up Matthew's proposed amendment.
I move.
Paul,
I'll second.
okay. And Nicole, okay, go ahead. Matthew.
So our current standards are based on the way the world was in the 1950s, which is really not the way it is today. 11 of the 12 cities cited in our documents about the percentages required all use the 10% and 20%. So that really seems consistent with current day practices. So that is the reason that I offered that as a amendment.
And what was the model? Was it in the model code? Was it 15 for both? I don't remember. I remember one of them was 15, but I can't remember which are both.
It was significantly higher than what we allow now, but I don't remember either exactly what it was.
Curious.
Are we waiting on me? I was trying to look, but no one,
Oh, it's okay.
we don't care. Okay.
I was
Shall we
just curious.
vote?
Thanks.
Miss Bame,
No.
Miss Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
No,
Miss Finney,
No,
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Miss Johnson,
No,
Miss Kirkton,
No,
Mr. Klemp, no. 3 yeses, 6 nos, motion fails.
okay, number 22, 14.9 and voting. And this again brings our charter language into compliance with the Board of Election Commissioners and state law. Is there a motion to move that forward? I will, Tammy, I'll second it. Any discussion?
Miss Bame,
Yes.
Miss Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
yes,
Miss Finney,
yes,
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Miss Johnson,
yes,
Miss Kirkton,
Yes,
Mr. Klemp, yes. Motion passes 9-0.
okay, next is removing the residency requirement for the judge of the municipal court. I'll move to bring that forward. Is there a second?
Second.
Nicole? Any discussion?
Sorry, who's second?
Nicole?
Thank you.
Ready?
Miss Bame,
Yes.
Miss Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
yes,
Miss Finney,
yes,
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Miss Johnson,
yes,
Miss Kirkton,
Yes.
Mr. Klemp, yes. Motion passes 9-0.
Okay, next we move on to public engagement as a part of civic infrastructure. Clear a motion to move this forward?
what are we voting on the 24 that's been struck out or the
Well,
amendment or what?
yeah, just let's move it forward and then discuss that.
Because I mean, it's confusing to me that there's 3 different ones and then a substitute for all 3.
Yeah,
Someone motion.
I will. Is
Thank
there-
you.
I'll second.
Matthew.
Thank you.
And Neil, how do you want us to handle this?
Show me the top if you would.
What?
Show me the beginning of that particular section.
So, yeah, it's divided into 20, starts with number 24,
Right.
and then
So
it's
number
divided
conversion,
into
yes.
25 and 26.
So
Jo-
it's like the other one where we're striking 3 and
Yeah.
replacing it with
So-
1.
So Joe has a substitute for,
Yeah, and you know, and in looking at it. I'm not sure why that's been stricken because this was the proposal that was supposed to be on the ballot. So in your mind's eye, take all of those lines out of that. So that's your first consideration because that's what was on the public engagement information that you all put forward, right? So that's there. And then you have the proposed substitute amendment by Mr. Dugan. That would be the second part of that that's in red. So I think that you would do that the same way you've done it in the past, is that you would call that up. There would be a motion to make a proposed amendment. You will then take up the proposed amendment, depending upon how that's voted one way or another. You would then take up the original proposition from the public engagement submission. Does that make sense?
So if Joe's proposal passes, then,
You don't have to take up the second part,
all right, okay.
okay? You don't have to take up not highlighted, but I guess it is highlighted language, right?
Right. Okay,
So I would like to chat about this.
yeah.
I think my question is to the subcommittee that worked on the verbiage. I don't remember if what we have for 26 was from the model code or just how, but I don't recall the evolution.
It was mostly from the model code.
Okay.
I think really we just pared that down because it was so wordy.
That's what I thought. Okay.
When you say you pared it down, the three that were proposed were pared down or this new one's pared down?
The three original were from the model charter. But pared down, the three that are here are pared down from
Yeah.
what was in the model charter.
But the
The
recommendation.
red one here is from Joe.
If, I don't know that we want to do this, but I'm just gonna throw out that at this point, this has broken my brain. Because the other ones I was much more prepared on, but this plus the new addition, I feel like is a lot at 6:50 at night. So I will vote if that's what we're gonna do, but I'm wondering whether this gets saved. I know we're trying to be done, but this feels like it's kind of a little more deep. Maybe that's just because I missed some other meetings. So again, I'm fine to go forward if people want, but I just wanted to throw out there, this feels like a lot at the end.
It is a lot, and I think that we have to compare what we want in the charter is vague but flexible language that shows that this is important to us. The council can certainly by ordinance put all this verbiage in, but this is just a direction of value statement of our city charter. And to have it pared down like Joe proposes is much simpler, but gets the point across of what we'd like public engagement to be.
Madam Chair, my intention with the substitute, I agree with the subcommittee members that and others who have expressed interest in having a public engagement language in the charter. I'm just concerned that even with the pared down language, we get into a lot of specifics. And I don't know if we want to be that prescriptive in this sort of a topic. And that at least as a first step to provide some general guidance to the council as to what, is a priority here. Mentioning all the subtopics that are included in the section 26, but without going into the specificity, which to me is something that the city could be, in the city council could fill that out and it can be a living document and change over time rather than us with the charter stipulating and having voters have to make a decision on this part.
So would 24, 25, and 26 each be a separate ballot item, or would those all be together like 3 sections, but it would be one public engagement vote?
I mean, I think the way we propose them as a subcommittee would be that they're all one thing. One doesn't fit
My
without
thought
the
would
other.
be They would be all one thing.
Okay.
You'd either find an article that they would fit in, but they really don't, or create a new article.
Right.
That would engage these things.
But it's not like people could vote for 2 and not the other or something like that. They're voting for all 3 together.
Right.
And,
Okay.
I
Thank you.
can't obviously speak for anybody else on the subcommittee, but I agree, it seems like a lot of verbiage, but on the other hand, this is always something that's pretty squishy when you talk about it. very nebulous. And I think pointing these out, at least as examples, is a constructive thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with Paul. I feel like I like simplicity, but in this case, the simplicity feels like maybe we're not saying enough. And that's where, again, where my brain would like to go back and go somewhere in the middle, but
I would just say I don't see how this proposed amendment is any different than the value statement we already voted on in the preamble. And if, I think we should just let each of these sections stand on their own and we can vote yes or no on them rather than stopping the votes to make another value statement.
Okay, we'll vote on number 24.
I think we need to vote on the amendment.
You got to vote on the amendment. The substitute.
Okay.
I think we got,
Oh, do you want to, you explain it?
we've already had discussion on it, so I'm happy to go to vote, on the substitute.
Good. All right, for a vote on Joe's amendment, Ms. Boehm,
Yes.
Ms. Chaput,
No.
Mr. Driven,
No.
Mr. Dugan,
Yes,
Ms. Finney,
no.
Mr. Heil,
No.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
Yes,
Mr. Klemp, no. 4 yes, 5 no, motion fails. Now we vote on
back
24.
to proposed edition number 24.
I'll make a motion to approve number 24.
Second.
I think we already have
We
that.
did. that.
Oh, we did? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I think we're ready to vote.
Give me 1 second. I have to change. Ms. Boehm,
Can I clarify what we're? voting
yeah,
on?
sorry, we're voting on,
So.
Item
because at
24.
one point I felt like it was being discussed that we would be moving all three of these together. To the voters as a package.
I think there's this outstanding question of this entire thing, if this will be as one ballot measure as a proposed new charter or individual items. So I don't know that focusing on that for these votes is a constructive
Yeah. We're just,
endeavor.
So again, theoretically, you vote on each one of these. If they, all three pass, you would be in theory recommending all three of those things. If 2 of the 3 passed, you would be recommending 2 of the 3 things.
Okay, yes.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes,
Mr. Dugan,
yes,
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
yes,
Mr. Klemp, yes, motion passes 9-0.
okay, 25, structures to support and coordinate engagement. Is there any discussion? Or wait, we need to move that forward.
I move that we vote on 25.
Jennifer,
I'll second.
Nicole, any discussion?
Ms. Boehm.
Yeah.
Ms. Chaput,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
yes,
Mr. Dugan,
no,
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Kirkton,
No,
Mr. Klemp, yes. 6-3 passes.
okay, 26, principles of public engagement. Our motion to move that forward,
So moved.
Second.
Nicole and Matthew. Any discussion?
I would just say that this section is of this entire public engagement is probably the strongest. It makes a commitment to transparency. It makes the city have to consider those who are differently abled when they're engaging with the public. And also, I think the most important thing, it makes them consider other languages besides English. So I think this is the strongest of actually outlining something that they would have to do. Whether you agree with that or not is your decision if that's good or not, but I would just say that this is the strongest of the three.
Okay, Kyle, I agree with you, but I'd love to see this in ordinance rather than the charter.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I agree with the concepts here. It's just, I feel it's too much specificity that, should be done as whether it's ordinance or as some city policy could be done. But I agree with the concept here.
Anything else?
I support what Kyle said.
Okay.
Ms. Bame,
Yes.
Ms. Chapu,
Yes.
Mr. Driven,
Yes.
Mr. Dugan,
No.
Ms. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Heil,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson,
No.
Ms. Kirkton,
No.
Mr. Clint, yes. 6-3 passes. All right, I'm bad with the 6-3.
Okay.
Look at us. Oh my God, we do this more.
Not only we have to go back and give priority.
We're
Or
halfway
wait till another
done. Halfway
time.
done.
If you voted yes, it's a priority.
Nice try.
I'm just being fun.
Madam Chair, can I make a suggestion in the priority votes? And it just
Absolutely.
May be a little bit easier. Now here, I think that everybody gets one vote on each number. So I think that you could simply call for, because this is just, again, a recommendation to your recommendation. I would simply say, who thinks this is a number one, with a show of hands, count that up. And if there's 4 that say yes, you would put 4 on the 1. Who's a 2, who's a 3, and just each time put those numbers. So you're going to show 3 sets of numbers theoretically. I mean, it could be 9, 0, 0, but whatever it is, everybody gets to vote for either 1, 2, or 3.
But we don't put a name.
I
For the
don't think
priority.
you need to. in this.
Yeah.
I think you do on the substance. The priority is a different question.
Okay.
But you can do it any way you want. That's merely a suggestion.
Is that agreeable, Kyle?
Is that agreeable?
I'm in favor of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
Okay, so everybody, please keep your hand up so Kyle can.
Give me just
count.
1 second so I can make a little table.
Yeah.
It'll be very fast.
And can we, maybe this is already planned, can we review what the vote was before, as we do it, just to help us, 9-0 or 6-3?
Mhm.
I will do that for each one.
Thank you.
Do we need to vote priority on items that didn't get a majority vote?
My opinion is no, but again, if it didn't pass, it didn't pass. So
Yeah.
you're not sending that up
Yeah.
as a recommendation. So you're not giving it a priority.
Like on the second one with number and term, like, do we have to vote on the priority of each one, or just like as a whole, yes, we think they should address this? Might be one way to do it for the comparative ones.
So on on section 2.1, where you have 3 different proposals, actually, only 1 passed. So again, why would you set priorities? Because you as a board have voted on this, you would set priorities only on the one that passed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Why don't we move ahead?
Okay,
And wait,
I'm ready. I'm just
Taylor,
figuring out how to do this, write this down. All right,
Go home, one of the-
so first item, preamble change, passed 9-0. Priority 1, raise your hand. 4. Priority 2, raise your hand. 3. Priority 3, raise your hand. 2. There's such strange notes. All right, next item, number and term. No change to the wards.
So
I think we go,
What I would suggest is you go down to C, which is
Okay.
the only one that passed.
Oh, duh. Wait, no, number one did pass. It passed, no?
No,
No.
That was a.
Oh, I'm looking at the original vote. I'm sorry. We
so-
reconsidered.
And that was 3-6.
Then we reconsidered and then it was 6-3.
Mhm.
Thank you. Read my own notes.
So, I got it.
That's why you're here. That's why they pay you. All right. Priority 1 for no change.
Oh,
wait,
no,
no.
this-
For
we're just doing C.
Oh my God. Hybrid.
Right. Change to that. Which passed 5-3.
Thank you. I can.
that's the only thing that passed.
Yeah, got it. Okay. It's 7 o'clock, y'all. I'm hungry. All right. Sorry about that. Hybrid passed 5-4, priority 1. 4. Thank you. 2. 1, 3. 4. Thank you. Beg your pardon. So the next item, option 1, which was setting a dollar amount at 400 for city council and mayor at 625. Correct? All right. Priority 1. That's easy. That's everybody. We should just, that should be a 1-page report. Next item, 2.12, publish in contemporary means of information, passed 9-0. Priority 1. 3, priority 2. 2, priority 3. 4. Four point one, replace sections 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. Passed 8-1. Priority number 1. Priority number 2. Priority number 3. Thanks. Article 5, change to financial management. Motion passed 6-3. Priority number 1. No one. Priority number 2. 1. Priority number 3. 8. Addition of knowingly. Motion passed 7-2. Priority 1. Oh, wait, no, I'm just raising my hand to show you what to do. 2. Priority 2. Priority 3. 3. Great. Audit timing. Passed 9-0. Priority 1. Priority 2. Priority 3. Who did I miss? Oh. So 7-2, 7-2, and 0, right? All right, public record. Published in contemporary means of information sharing priority. That passed 0 or 9-0, excuse me. Priority 1. Priority 2. Priority 3. 4. All right. Removal of insane asylums and replacement for mental health facilities. Priority 1.
Yeah, I'll add mine.
Now I feel like. That was 8, right?
That was 8. Yeah, everybody but Kyle was good.
All right.
Wait, did Paul? did you-
Oh, Paul didn't raise his. Okay, so that's 8. Kyle says 3, so we don't need to do that. All right, human resources. Oh wait, yes. Are we gonna change that to human resources? Pass 9 to 0. Priority 1. 2, priority 2. Priority 3. I'm getting good at math. All right, next was the 7.5. Powers and utilities of the board passed 9 to 0. One. 2. And 3. Should be 6 if I'll tell the truth. Classification of employees. All personnel are exempt from overtime provisions. Passed 8 to 1. Priority 1. 3. Priority 2. 4. Priority 3. 2. Merit system rules did pass. Added the race, creed, national origins, etc. Priority 1. Priority 2. Priority 3. 1. Thanks, y'all. Prohibitions of the same, adding the list of things that we can't discriminate against. Priority 1. Is that 8? Priority 2. Priority 3. Okay. Delete section 10.1, boards and commissions, passed 8 to 1. Priority 1. 5. Can I count? Yes. Priority 2. Priority 3. Delete section 10.2, parks and recreation, passed 8 to 1. Priority 1. 6. Am I counting that right? Okay. 2. Just me. And 3. 2. All right. Delete section 10.3, the police thing, right? Thank you. Priority 1. Priority 2. And priority 3. Great job. Renaming planning and zoning to planning and development, past 9 to 0. Priority 1. Priority 2. And priority 3 is nobody. All right. Article 13, we shall prepare our ballots so that Eric Fay doesn't get mad at us, was 9 to 0. Priority 1. It's 8. Priority 2. It's 1, and 3 is 0. Article 14, threshold 4 and 10%. Pass. Oh, it failed. Doesn't matter.
C, which was changed. I'm sorry.
Ballots cast instead of votes cast. Passed 5 to 4. All right, priority 1. 4, right? Priority 2?
Oh, I want to say yes on that one.
Okay, priority 1 is 5. Priority 2 is 1, and priority 3 is 3. All right. The next thing that passed, voting language 14.9 shall be used consistent with the Board of Elections Commissioners, passed 9-0. Priority 1. Is that, okay, that's 8. Priority 2, it's 1, and 3 is 0. Removing the residency requirement for the judge, priority 1. Priority 2, 3, and priority 3 is 2. That was fun. All right, public engagement as an essential part of civic infrastructure. That passed 9-0. Thank you. Priority 1, 4, priority 2, 3, priority 3. It's 2. All right. The part, what is that? Part B? The 25th question.
25.
What I have the numbers convention on this is crazy. The 25th question passed 6-3. Priority 1. Priority 2. And priority 3. 2, 3, 4. Great. And the last item passed 6-3. Priority 1. Priority 2, sorry. And priority 3. We're done.
Can I thank Neil for telling us to raise our hands for that one?
That was who said roll call votes was needed? I'm gonna. Thank you. And the best thing is, the minutes are done.
Did we get a copy of these earlier than the day before the meeting? I'd like to review them.
Yeah, I'll send them to you. And
Yeah, great.
as soon as I spell the,
Sends them same night. So I
as soon as I consistently spell the word priority, I will do that. Thank
Okay, so I'll send out the template for the report. And then our next meetings are September 5th to update the council, and September 11th and September 26th. And depending on our report, we'll determine a date to present to council. And that's a regular meeting, correct?
For September 5th, is that everybody or some people? I didn't catch what that was for.
Well, it's not determined. I mean, anybody and everybody's welcome.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I think the point of coming to the September 5th council meeting is to, before your report comes, kind of preview your process and what's been going on, and actually also give council the opportunity, if it sounds like there's something that's not going to come in your report that council maybe wants, that's the time for council members to mention that. And you're free to say, no, we're not going to do that because you're doing your work very well. But we just wanted to have some interaction before the report was finalized to make sure that everything council wanted was there, or to the degree possible. And that, to be honest, I can start getting the council members to start focusing on this, because we'll spend a lot of time this fall working on it.
okay.
And what's the time?
The meeting starts at 7:30, I would guess. It's first on the agenda, so it'd be about 7:40. Roll call, public comment first, and then we'll get right to it.
Thank you.
right? Demote our pay.
So Jeannie, you're making the main presentation.
Well,
Is
it's
that right?
not determined.
Okay.
I can.
I'd like to
Um,
make a motion that Jeannie. make the main presentation.
Second. Is that a real thing?
No.
I'm getting
Strike that from
flashbacks.
minutes.
They're not saved yet. I'm not that crazy. 2 minutes later.
No, I mean, anybody is welcome to come. I welcome you, your comments. So email me if you want to participate. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Nicole,
Second.
Tammy, all in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Good
Yeah,
job,
thank you.
Kyle.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
It was fun. I felt like a real clerk.
I am glad and disturbed that you found that fun.
That was a blast. Are you kidding me?